Thank you guys very much for coming. It was overwhelming seeing how many people we had sign up. We had full house for this one within an hour of releasing the information, so much so that we had to open up the Friday one that we didn't even anticipate. So we thank you for your enthusiasm, and we thank you guys for just being a part of this event. We thank Urban 15 for having us here, and Scott and Linda for bringing the Big Give Essay to San Antonio and really driving it forward. So, as Scott said, my name is John Burnham. I am helping Scott and the planning team manage and operate the Big Give Essay project. And we were really excited. I was really excited when they brought me on board, because this is sort of the exact thing that our community needs. And it's a great opportunity for us to network, get to know each other, and then also just to learn best practices with one another, and then really fundraise well. So today I'm going to take some time to talk to you about very basic introduction to social media 101, if you will, and I certainly don't want this to be beneath anybody, so I apologize in advance if this is a lot of information you already know. We will be having 3 other social media workshops. All of these will be recorded and put online, and this presentation without my voice will also be put online for you to go through at a later point if you would like. So let's go ahead and get started, and afterwards we'll have sort of a Q&A, and you can ask more questions if you want. So first, what is social media? It's really something that kind of started to rise with MySpace, with Xanga, the online journaling group back in the 2000s, and then Facebook sort of hits in 2004. We started to see it take off, but really the base of it is, what the heck is it? I mean, a lot of people don't really understand what that concept is, and it's really just social networking through websites and applications. And if that doesn't help, then social networking doesn't help you, then it's just basically having a conversation online. And that's where a lot of nonprofits have a problem, because that's what it is at its simplest form, is just talking and communicating with people, building a relationship like you would build in your offices, but building it through the digital world. And it happens with everybody. Every minute, every day, there's millions and billions of people on the different platforms, and it's rising quickly. So you see Facebook has had a massive swing. Since 2004, Facebook has risen from less than 1 million people to 1.35 billion people as of 2013. If it was its own country, it would be the 2nd largest country in the world at this point. And that's not just accounts, that's the number of monthly active users. So there's 752 million active users a week, about 1.35 billion active users a month, which is an extremely large amount of people with an extremely large amount of content going back and forth. There's a lot of noise that happens in social media, and that's something that we need to talk about and work through. So what are the different platforms we can use? Well, here's just some, and I'm only going to talk about some of these today. These are some of the ones that I sort of saw as the most useful ones for your organization. On the far left, you see we have LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And the other ones at the top are other social media accounts. There's about 7,000 total. Certainly you can't be on all of them, and I wouldn't encourage it. So part of what we're going to do today is really talk about how can you pick and choose the ones that are going to be the most beneficial to your organization, where your people hang out, and where you can share your content. So why are there so many sites? Well, because everybody wants to have their own, really. And everybody's in competition with one another. And there's value in each one. You know, if you are looking for a particular population, there's somewhere to look, which is great. And who's on each one? Well, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then do you need to use them all? No. And in fact, I would only encourage, if you haven't started, unfortunately, when we took our poll out, we thank you all for filling out the survey. 95% of you have a Facebook account, about 70% have Twitter accounts, 25% have Pinterest, about 30% have LinkedIn. And those numbers might not sound that great, but that's great compared to the standard across the country. Only about 3/4 of nonprofits have a Facebook account, so we're well above that in this community. And Twitter's even lower than that. Pinterest and LinkedIn fall far beyond. So it's great to sort of see that. So I didn't, initially when we started to plan this out, we were thinking, well, do we need to walk people through logging on and building their account? But you guys already have accounts, so there's not really any need for that. So we're just going to go through some of the basic facts about each of these social media sites, who's on them, when they're on them, what kinds of things you should post, when you should post, and how they're being used well by other nonprofits. So the first one we're talking about is LinkedIn. As you see right over here, as of 2013, LinkedIn has 238 million users. How many of you have a personal LinkedIn account? A number of you, okay? LinkedIn, the average age is 35. 50% of LinkedIn users have a bachelor's degree. And the median household income on LinkedIn is about $85,000. So LinkedIn is definitely a business-oriented social media site. That doesn't mean that it's not useful for nonprofits. In fact, we're going to talk about some nonprofits later that are utilizing it really, really well. But the kind of content you need to put on it is going to be very different than the kind of content you need to put on Facebook or Pinterest or Google Plus if you use that, or any of these other ones. Actually, LinkedIn, the most active social media network online are the LinkedIn groups. About 90% of users on LinkedIn use a LinkedIn group roughly once a week. It's a great way for networking. It's a great way for finding out new resources. So the next one we'll talk about is Instagram. This one's relatively new to a lot of you guys. How many of you guys have an organization with an Instagram account or have a personal Instagram account? Okay, so pretty good number still. Instagram has about 130 million users, active users. And it's the way that it's most utilized is by linking it through Facebook, who owns it, linking it through Twitter to drive pictures because you can change, you can do all sorts of things with them. The average user on LinkedIn is about on Instagram is about 25 and female. Pinterest. Pinterest has about 70 million users, which may seem like very little compared to some of the other sites we're going to be talking about. But it's actually a great resource for nonprofits, especially if you're a nonprofit that utilizes pictures well, utilizes infographics. If you're health, you want to get information out there to a population that doesn't just want to listen but wants to see. It's very visual. And this number, 70 million, is actually it's representative of 1,000% growth over the past year. It's the fastest growing social media site on the internet. The average group on this, about 80% of total Pinterest users are women, about 69% of them are female. So this is especially if you're an organization working with women, this is a great resource for you. Facebook, the giant, 1.15 billion. That was as of 2012. And 751 million users access their Facebook account via their phone. It's the most common way to get to it. So whenever you think about that, whenever you're putting something on, it's thinking about it in terms of mobile, things that will be able to be easily seen through a mobile platform. You know, 23% of people check it more than 5 times a day. It means we have to be checking it during work, which gets a lot of people in trouble. Like, it's an incredible number if you think about it. And it's a lot of people. That's like the population of the United States checking the Facebook 5 times a day. It's crazy. And Twitter. So Twitter, how many of you guys have a Twitter account? Okay. Personal Twitter account? No? Okay. Twitter is very different. It's considered a micro-blogging site. Maximum 140 characters. Most places will tell you to use about 125 now or less. It increases your chances of being seen. People don't want to read 140 characters, which is basically just one sentence. So there are a lot of things you'll see that'll tell you to chop out your ands, your ors, your rs, everything else to get it down. Using pictures is a great way to do it, but it's really a news feed. And so Twitter's been amazing for breaking news. It's done a lot to a lot of news organizations. I mean, this is where the stuff on Ukraine recently just broke. The stuff on Venezuela just broke. Philip Seymour Hoffman's death is actually broken on Twitter before it was on a news organization. So it's really changing the landscape of how we send and receive information. And this, more than any other account, has a ton of noise on it. As you can see, 20 million of the accounts are fake, and there are over 400 million tweets being sent out per day. I forgot to mention with Instagram and with all of these, it's one of the most interesting facts is that this past year, there were more pictures posted through social media sites than have been taken from 2012 to the beginning of time. So it's just coming faster, quicker, and more of it. So it's not going away, but that's what also makes it a great resource for your organization because it's free, first. And 2, everybody's on it. So it's a way to connect. So here are some more stats. There are over 1 billion unique monthly visitors on YouTube. 4 Social media generates almost double the marketing leads in trade show, telemarketing, as daily mail and PPC. So that's not for nonprofits, obviously, but if you're a business, it's starting to be utilized not only as a way to reach people and to see what they like, but also as a means to sell. And that's where sites like Pinterest are most important. People are 50% more likely to buy if they see your object on Facebook or Pinterest, about 30% more likely to buy if they see it on Twitter. So it's really a word of mouth. It's trusting people as opposed to trusting organizations now. Okay, so which ones are right for you? That's the big question. So we've talked about some of the big ones now. And so now let's dive into a little bit about who's on each of these sites and which ones you can utilize. So for Pinterest, the largest opportunities are obviously going to be if you are an organization that sells something, if you're an organization that has a lot of photos that you take, if you're an organization that uses infographics, or if you're an organization that has a lot of great advertisements. And if you go on, there are some wonderful organizations like Amnesty International that are utilizing Pinterest like crazy, and it's a great way to get the message out and for a lot of people to see it. So it's great for that if you have a highly visual audience that wants to connect with something without necessarily reading it, or is looking to connect to you through another business. Twitter is largest in the United States, and it's best for news. So if you're an organization like a PBS or a KLRN or a Texas Public Radio, this is the site for you. I mean, it's also the site for a lot of other groups. I, for example, work with the San Antonio Christian Dental Clinic, and this has been a great way for the Christian Dental Clinic to connect with dentists all over the country. They've received leads from organizations in Nevada and California that want to help provide supplies that they didn't have otherwise, and for them to stay up to date on what's happening. Twitter's great if you want to be known as a thought leader or if you want to connect to other thought leaders. If you want to see what experts are thinking and what they're posting, it's great to just set up a daily feed on this thing and let it run, and then gather information and check it. Spend about 15, 20 minutes a day checking it. And start really by just retweeting, reposting what you see. That's the easiest way to get the hang of it, since it is so different than everything else. And we'll get to hashtags later. That's its own sort of unique monster. Yeah, 5,700 tweets every second. That's all right. So Facebook, that's really the one everybody needs to be on. So if you don't have a Facebook account right now, I encourage you to get a Facebook account. If you need help getting a Facebook account, we will have resources on our website that we'll talk about in a little bit that will help you do that. Facebook is best for the relationship driving. So connecting with people that have visited your campus, or friends or family of people that have benefited from your services. It's really a way to bring them into the family, and these are the kinds of, think about the kinds of conversations you would have if somebody showed up to your organization and just wanted to talk to you face to face. That's the kind of conversation you're going to need to have on Facebook. It's really useful for that. It's really useful for pictures and videos, really to keep people up to date on what's happening in your office. You wouldn't want to post something on the return on investment of a certain kind of dental supply on Facebook. It's not going to get any views, but it would if you post, like, I don't know, you hanging out with some of the clients that have come in that day, or a testimonial from someone who has benefited from your services. Those are the kinds of things that you'll see a lot. They'll have a lot of content driven on Facebook. Instagram is great for the same thing, and like I said, the vast majority of people actually link their Instagram account to their Facebook and their Twitter, so that you can just put that information straight on there. It's great. Instagram has been sort of famous for a younger audience because they don't want to be on Facebook, and so they just kind of hang out on Instagram now, which is why a lot of organizations are now moving over to Instagram. So they'll probably just find something else like Snapchat or WhatsApp, but so it's sort of like everybody moving away from it. We're going to skip Google Plus for now. It's nothing we need to talk about. And then LinkedIn is corporate brands connecting with big donors is potential there, connecting with business leaders and thought leaders in your field. And so I'll use another example. So with an organization that I work with called the Louise Batts Patient Safety Foundation, we work with hospitals throughout the country. And so this is a great resource to connect with CMOs and CNOs who all have accounts. And so they see what you're doing, and it allows them to bring them sort of into the fold. So there are benefits, but if you're not dealing with that kind of population, then LinkedIn is probably not a site for you. Okay, cool, but how often should you post? That's the question. On Facebook, to start off with, I would say about 3 times a week is good. We'd like to get that up to daily. Even twice a day is okay, but you don't want to overdo the content. People will stop following you as it clutters up their newsfeed. So really post when you have something meaningful, a story you really want to share. And the rule I would say is be more reactive than proactive. Well, be proactive in posting, but be really reactive in thanking people and commenting on stuff that they post on your wall. That's really how you drive the relationship. That's really how you bring them into the fold. It's a really new way for a lot of organizations, and don't think just about receiving donations, because as you'll see in a little bit, it's not likely to happen immediately. It's like it would be in anything. You're not going to get somebody off the street that's going to walk into your organization and just throw $50 down the table. I mean, maybe every once in a while, and maybe that happens here as well, but given the number of people that are on these social media sites, you're just part of the noise for a lot of people. And so that's an important thing to think about. So really focus on the population that you want to focus on. And don't think about quantity. Who cares how many likes you have? It's better to have 100 likes on Facebook and a really active population than it is to have 2,000 and people who never look at anything. So just because your organization doesn't have a lot now doesn't mean it won't, but it's something you have to build up over time. It's a trust thing. So how about LinkedIn? I would say 1 to 2 times a week at the beginning. People on LinkedIn are busy. They're often checking their accounts right before work and right after work, or they're using it to look for leads to hire. And so they're not spending a lot of time on content. They do want to see stuff, and they will see it because it tends to stay in their news feeds longer. And so when they scroll down, something that was posted a week ago is easier to see because there's not as much static and not as much noise going around the site. But if you post too often, first people will wonder why you're posting so much on LinkedIn, and second off, they're going to wonder why, because it's not the target audience. Pinterest. So at least once a week, people, as opposed to some of these accounts, people are very active on Pinterest on the weekends. Saturday mornings are a big time, so if it's something where you want to make it part of your routine to get up and just sort of scan through what's on Pinterest, and you can repost that material. About 80% of the material on Pinterest is just recycled, so about 20% of people post new content heavily, and everybody else sort of just follows suit. The most, interestingly enough, the most posted content on Pinterest is actually garlic cheesy bread, for those of you who are interested in the recipe. Yeah, so recipes are big, infographics are big, people selling things are big. Weddings, yeah, lots of photos from weddings, and like in dresses and everything on there. And then Twitter, so daily to multiple times a day. Twitter, if you're posting 15 times a day, that's perfectly fine, because it's keeping up with the news noise. And so if there's something to retweet, if there's something to post, do it. If it's something that you read that you find interesting, great, makes you look like a thought leader. People will read what you're posting, and it may drive them to your other social media sites. One thing I would advise you not to do is a lot of people link their Facebook to their Twitter, so that when they put something on Facebook, it shows up on Twitter. That's great. I would not, if you do it right now, I would not auto-set your Twitter to automatically directly message people and tell them to like you on Facebook too. That just annoys people, and it's not successful. You end up losing more people than you gain that way. So I wouldn't recommend that. That's something a lot of people do. But yeah, so feel free to just kind of run wild with Twitter and sort of see what people that you want to follow are doing and kind of mimic that. Okay, but what should you post? So Twitter, like I said, is perfect if you're looking for quick conversations. Following thought leaders in your field, that's a big thing. It's a way to gain information and do your job better sometimes. It's more a resource for you than it is for your organization to get out sometimes. Pinterest is great for images, infographics, and creative ads, like we'll see here in a little bit. It really kind of promotes you to a different audience, and it really kind of associates you more with businesses and with sort of fun activities that are kind of going on. And you can get creative with this too. This is something that I talk to organizations about. Like if you work at a dental clinic, for example, you can think, well, there's not much we can post that directly relates to your organization. But the general rule of thumb is you don't want to be posting what you need and what you want about you only want to be posting that about 20% of the time. Most of the content you're putting up needs to just be part of conversation, part of talking to people. So posting things you like, give your organization character through something like Pinterest. Like if you are looking for infographics that you like, put them on there. If you are looking at sunglasses you like and you're an eye clinic, put them on there. Like those are things that will drive people to your site. And then they may then move from there over to your other social media platforms or bounce over to your website. So So it's a great opportunity for you to really kind of expand your reach and be as creative as you want and pull people into the fold. Facebook is really for sharing your story. And you can use that content on these other social media platforms. And these other social media platforms can be a part of it. But think of it more as your mothership for your social media platforms. It's where you know people are going to be. Unless you're working with 12 and 13-year-olds who are moving on to other platforms, it's highly likely that they're going to be here. And the fastest growing population in Facebook is actually those over 60. So even if you are working with older members of society, it's still a great place to go. With the Big Give, for example, roughly 75% of our followers are female, about 24.5% are male. And we actually have a nice spread. So our average age is about 35 to 45 female, but we have a good number of people who are 55 to 65. I think about 15% of our followers are 55 to 65. So there's still a good segment of the population out there that's engaging with these tools, that isn't young, that isn't 15, and is looking for a more serious conversation. And then, like I said, LinkedIn, position you as a thought leader and really post about the business end. Like what policies are going to affect your organization? Talk about it on LinkedIn. It's not great for Facebook, but it's great here. It's also great on Twitter. You can link those two accounts as well. What is the business doing in your area that directly corresponds to what your organization is looking to do? Find a way to connect. Like those are the places you can do that. So one of my tips is to follow people in accounts and see what works for them. So if you know that there are people that are posting a lot in your field of interest, follow them, just watch them for a while before you even get involved and see what they're posting, see what people are responding to, and it'll give you an idea of how to jump into that conversation. You can reply, you can retweet, you can bring in a whole new population to visit with them, and these are also people that you can use later to spread the news on your organization. So if your organization has, say, 100 Twitter followers, but there's somebody in the area who's posting a lot on healthcare reform, and that's what you're dealing with, and they have 15,000 followers, and you know that your organization is providing a lot of great information in this area, but it's just not getting out to the general public. A good idea for an account like Twitter is to connect with that individual and build a relationship with them, because then they're the ones that are going to help you spread that information to a larger population. They can retweet you, and they can give you a lot of credibility. So think of it as having a journalist sort of associated to your account in some sense. So here I'm going to start giving you a couple examples of organizations that are using some of these social media sites well, or what I think are using them well, and have gotten a lot of traffic from stuff they've done. And then there are some on here that I'm not going to go over, but I'm going to leave them in the presentation for you to check out the videos later if you want. These are, especially the YouTube videos, are nonprofit accounts. They're nonprofits that are using it to promote a social message, and they're using shock value, they're using humor, all sorts of different kinds of things. But I just really wanted to put a spread of stuff in here so that you would have an opportunity to see sort of the gambit of what you can post and what's successful. You can do it without cost, with cost, and encourage sort of everything in that respect. So some of the great some of the great Twitter accounts I recommend you follow. Like I said, it's great for news. PBS is a really good example. This is a good post. This uses pictures well. You know, it incorporates its hashtag for people to follow. If you're a big Downton Abbey fan, you can see there are 32 retweets, 77 favorites. People are getting involved, and it's really kind of driving not only people to watch the show, but also just to have a conversation about it. That's why PBS is effective on Twitter. Same with United Nations. They have a ton of effective accounts. And these are some of the videos that they'll post. You'll see that they'll have, a lot of times they'll do this, like a quick YouTube video from the field. Doesn't cost any money to do, it's just updates people on what's going on and drives people to the site. And then they sort of break it down in a couple quick, one quick sentence, and then present you with content that you can look into further if you want. The sad part is that nonprofits don't actually stack up that well on these accounts. So if you look at the top-rated individuals on Twitter versus the top-rated nonprofits, it's like a huge disparity. Justin Bieber was number one. He fell to number two recently. I don't know if it was because of Katy Perry, but one of the other. But anyways, and this disparity exists across all the platforms. The number one influencers on LinkedIn are all business owners by a wide margin. See, on Facebook, Rihanna has the most popular Facebook account. The most popular Facebook account, I mean, like even like Harry Potter as a generic theme has like the third most popular Facebook account. So all sorts of stuff is more popular than nonprofits. Charity Water is a good example of one on Facebook. They utilize it really well, and they have quite a large following there. So here's a great example of how you can ask for money when you want to ask for money. So making that transition. So remember, don't do it all the time. Do it every once in a while. Kind of pepper it in with the rest of the messages you're talking about. And the World Wildlife Federation, they're great on all their accounts. But this is one in particular that I think they do exceptionally well. You can see at the bottom that there's 9,000 likes on this, almost 10,000 likes, 1,100 shares because it's a cute baby elephant. Animals do much better than people do, so that's just a fact. I mean, we are commenting on, I don't know if any of you here are part, is anybody here part of Diamond Dachshund Rescue? You're part of Diamond Dachshund Rescue?
No, not all of them.
Yeah, okay, so Diamond Dachshund Rescue is a great example. They have just so many active people, it's like crazy. I mean, they have like 8,000 followers for a small organization, and it's just because people obsessively love dachshunds. So you just see tons of pictures of them and people just sharing them all over the place. It's like cats.
And they have a great spoke stall.
Yeah. So I mean, animals always do well. Actually, here's a good comparison. You can see that these children over here, there's only 1,100 likes on this, and there was like 92 shares. There's a big difference. But the thing on this is somebody, if you were to follow the comment feed further down, somebody talks about the fact that there's 10,000 likes, but only 22 people have actually donated. So this campaign is obviously drawing a lot of traction to their website, but it's not bringing in money. And that for a lot of nonprofits is where they have problems, because they tend to think, I'm spending time and energy, I want to make this part of my development plan, but what it needs to be is part of your marketing plan, with the idea that maybe development can work. And that's why things like the Big Give are important, because it's bolstering that population that's following you, and then you can spread the idea to give through that message, but you're not just going to post it and they're going to give. Oh, there's a number of nonprofit agencies that you post something and people will just, why aren't they coming, why aren't they giving? Social media doesn't have a return on investment. It does, but in a very different way, human capital. So it's bringing in people who are interested in engaging with your organization. And maybe they turn into givers at some point, but they don't necessarily just give because they see a picture of an elephant. That doesn't happen that often. But it does need to be an active part of what you're doing. It just needs to be done sort of in the right time frame, in the right amount. So some of my favorite nonprofits to follow on Facebook are NPR. It's a news organization that's doing a great job. Human Rights Watch has amazing content. Them and Amnesty International, I mean, politics aside, have some of the most enticing campaigns that you'll ever see on social media. They are, a lot of times, they're gut-wrenching. There's a great series that Amnesty International put out, for example, where it capitalizes sort of what we were talking about, the idea that you can get people to like but not engage in any way beyond that, the sort of problem that we see. And it'll have people sort of laying out, like, in a city that's just been bombed or whatever, like a mom bullying her child who's dead, and then it just has a bunch of thumbs up around it, and it says, liking isn't doing anything or something like that. And so they're trying to do that to really push people to more content. Charity Water is great across the board. They're great on all social media sites. So if you're looking for somebody to follow who's really up to date on new ways of using marketing, a great organization on every account. And then Goodwill the big umbrella organization, is a great account to follow. So Instagram. So here's a good example of what you'll find on Instagram if you don't have an Instagram. You see this cool picture of this lady who's running, and she's been filtered to make it look retro. That's what made it popular to begin with. And Robin Hood NYC is a group that works on reducing homelessness in New York. And so they really kind of stretch across age demographics and reach out to a lot of different people. But I use this as an example because they have a very active Instagram account, but this is something that's bad too. As you see, this person posted a question, is this Abby Weir? And that was 21 months ago. There's been no response. That person is less likely to come back and engage with you in the future because you don't care. And that's sort of the rule of thumb. I would recommend responding to people or have somebody on a response. and doing it within the hour, or at least by the end of the day if you're super busy. It's just part of that general upkeep for your organization and the way you look or perceived by the general public. And so yeah, so I would avoid situations like this. It is great though to post pictures of people and let them tag themselves. People love finding themselves in things, and so like Lenny Kravitz is a great example. He'll actually hire photographers to go to all of his concerts, and they'll just post the pictures up online, and it's like a Where is Waldo? Like just find yourself and tag yourself, and like show off that you're the Lenny Kravitz concert to all your friends and your LinkedIn account. So and so that usually drives a lot of traffic to accounts. Here's an example of someone who's doing it well. As you can see, Oceana, they're one of the largest ocean conservatories in the world, and so so they post sort of a shocking message to people to get them to interact with it. That has a lot of value. Humor, memes, if you're familiar with memes, picture of a cat and it says something funny at the top, or whatever. Like those are great ways to get people involved. People love to see that kind of stuff. And so they did it with a serious route. And so this was to get people to sign a petition. And this interaction page, like there are 489 people who like this. It just keeps going down. People are commenting, a lot, and it's because it's an upsetting picture. And so if you were to just post sign the petition without that picture, you were much, much less likely to get anybody to do anything. Pulling at people's heartstrings is a way to go in order to get people to do stuff. And that's why pictures and videos are hugely important. Charity Water, once again, this is just their the front of their account on Instagram. You can see that they have 177,000 followers, but they're also following people actively. So they're following about 2,000 organizations. Some of those are organizations that people may have their friends in, but a lot of it's organizations that they think are doing a good job, and they're following them. So that's another great way to really kind of learn the ropes, is by going to an organization like Charity Water. And if you don't want to follow Charity Water, you find someone like them, and then see who they're following. So find who your influencers are following, and that's a great way to sort of see what those people are liking and what they're getting involved in. That's the kind of content you want to produce. That's the kind of way you want to drive your site. LinkedIn. So let's go back to the World Wildlife Federation for a second, because I was mentioning that they're a group that uses content across all platforms really, really well. And this is a good example of the subtle differences in the kinds of things you'll post and the way you'll post. So you see here that the building blocks for smart climate policy, LEGO joins Climate Savers. So they're posting about a business, getting involved in what they're doing. And that is not something that they would post on Facebook. On Facebook, they're going to post a cute picture of the elephant because that's what people want to see. But here, a business leader is going to be much more interested in reading an article about another organization supporting World Wildlife Federation than they are to just click on a picture of an animal or something. That's why you don't see it that often. And so they have a lot fewer followers on LinkedIn, but still nonetheless, they get a lot of traction this way. Another great resource for LinkedIn is for when you are looking for applicants for jobs. And this is where a lot of nonprofits get some of their best workers. So you'll post information on a job opening that you have, and then you reshare it, ask other people to share it, other influencers to pass it around. And since LinkedIn naturally acts as a vetting process, you're typically only going to be friends with somebody on LinkedIn that you know well enough in life to recommend them for a job. Then in theory, I could go to Scott's account and scroll through it and find somebody, and I can already trust that. If I trust Scott, Scott's vetted that person, so I can know that, okay, it's probably likely that I would want to hire you for a project as well. So Pinterest. So, like I said, the vast majority of users on Pinterest are doing the wedding dresses, or doing parties, or doing animals, or doing memes. But there are nonprofits that are using it exceptionally well. And if you haven't been on Pinterest, here's an example of what the boards look like. So you store pictures, and then you can put information at the bottom of them. So the American Red Cross did a really cool thing with one of their boards. They have a number of boards, and one of them just goes to the history of the Red Cross and what they've been up to. And it's a great way to share your organization's history, making that one of your boards. Pictures from, if you've been around for 40 years, pictures from your beginning are a great way to get people involved and to get them to repin, get them to like, get them to comment, all of this kind of stuff. And so this is the AARP's Pinterest account. And surprisingly, you wouldn't think that's a group that would necessarily want to use Pinterest. You would think younger demographics, why is AARP reaching out? But they are very popular. They even have sex, dating, and relationship tips. But yeah, so you see the kinds of things they're posting. Not everything is about the organization. They got creative. So posting about Black History Month, posting about boomers over the age of 50, like posting on making a difference, the different kinds of things they're doing. These are the kinds of things people are coming to see. They're not coming to see information about the AARP. They can go to the website for that. So for example, boomers at 50 plus, they do a history of boomers every week. And they'll talk a little bit about something you may have grown up with. And so it's like that whole retro Thursday or retro Tuesday or whatever. You get people involved because they remember that. They want to come back and talk about it. So they want to come back and look at it and comment on it. Those are some of their fondest memories. And so the AARP capitalizes on that really, really well. So is that everything? Well, we haven't talked about hashtags yet, and I wanted to walk you through our toolkit a little bit if you haven't seen it. So here's an example on Twitter where hashtags can be found on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and Pinterest. They do the same thing on all accounts. And what they are is you'll see a hashtag here in blue. See the hashtag symbol, and then water is life next to it. And so what that allows me to do is go to the search bar, and I can search for anything that has the hashtag water is life in it, and it basically acts as an index. It'll bring up everything recently that's been posted that has that in it. So it allows me to jump into a conversation immediately. And you can see down here, I have San Antonio trends. These are the hashtags that are trending the most right now in San Antonio, or were when I posted this. And so if I wanted to jump into a conversation on baby hit 1 billion, I could just click on it and move right on over. And I can just start engaging with people I don't even know. Or I can start following the news on it. Or Nashville Wives. I don't know what that is, but that one was promoted. So, The Walking Dead. These are the kinds of things you'll find. And so in the beginning, we're going to be capitalizing on this by using hashtags to get local, hashtags to give essay. These will allow us to track the conversation and respond to people better, since there's going to be a lot of traffic that day. So if you use it when you're posting, just tack it onto the end of your statement. It's 110 characters, and you use the hashtag. It'll allow anybody who is part of this community to follow what you're doing and to potentially engage back with you. And one of our other talkers will be talking about this more. This may seem kind of daunting if there's a lot of hashtags you want to follow, but there are great tools out there for it. There's a thing called Hootsuite, TweetDeck. These are all things that will allow you to just follow. You can just set something up, and they're free. And you can just set a hashtag up, and it'll just follow it for you on your desktop. And so you can just look at it and jump into the conversation as you see fit. And so these are great ways to sort of get beyond that, like the daunting challenge that is the Twitter page. And so here's our website, and this is our toolkit. Show of hands, who's used the toolkit? Yeah. Hardly anybody. Okay. What?
Printed it off and
Great. Well, yeah, that's the first step. So the toolkit, if you don't know what it is, we've actually put out sample social media posts. So if you are new to Facebook, new to Twitter, we have things you can just plug and go. I've seen people use them already. And we're going to be expanding all of these. So this is going to be getting larger and larger. We'll be adding in all of these talks. Everything will be more robust. We have our logos so that you can put them on your website any way you want. We have event fact sheets, sample e-blasts, so you can just plug your organization's information in and just send something directly out. Communications plans to sort of show you what are good time frames to start doing certain things along the way. So I really encourage you to look at that one today. And then just giving day checklists. Make sure you have everything in a row. We're going to be also posting stuff in here on how to run events if you want information. About 50 nonprofits out of the ones that have registered so far told us that they wanted to host an event on the day of May 6th, and so that's wonderful. And that's in addition to the big one we're having May 6th that night at the Briscoe. So that's great. There's a lot of opportunities for you to get together, meet and mingle. Some are doing breakfast, some are doing lunches, some are doing open houses. We even have businesses that are basically shutting down their company for the day and just running a party. And so this is a great, we'll clean that up. That's a great way to sort of see kind of opportunities to do things. And then we'll have the event page over here that you'll be able to find all of those events and sort of pick ones you want to go to. So in the kickoff presentation, if you were there on the 15th, that presentation is uploaded so you can go back and find more information on it, share it with your board, share it with potential donors so they have a better idea of what's going on. So here are the keys. These are the takeaways I would say. Whenever you are posting, first, identify the right platforms for you. I would start with 2. Facebook you've already got, so if you don't have a Twitter but you think it's going to be useful, go with it. If you don't have a Pinterest you think it's going to be useful, go with it. One of the biggest challenges for agencies is being too many places at too many times. So you know what? Add them in later. Like we only have until May 6th, so really hunker down and do well on the websites that you want to right now. So don't try to do 5 if you have 0 right now. Do 1 or do 2. And I would recommend that's something, unless you're a big organization that can manage those accounts well, it's not likely a good idea for you to jump into a Pinterest, a LinkedIn, a Facebook, and a Twitter all at once, especially if you're a one-person show and you have to do all the work for your organization and you only have afternoons to do stuff. Identify the ones, and you can go to our Pinterest. This will help you. We have like a time period when people are most actively posting. So identify when you have a period of time during your day and see what sites that corresponds to and go to those sites. Post there, get those conversations there. Like I said earlier, LinkedIn is early morning after work. Facebook is usually morning, late evening. Twitter kind of happens all day long. Pinterest is weekends. Saturdays are the biggest posting day. So yeah, it really kind of depends on who your audience is and where you're going to go. I would also say quality over quantity. Don't get stuck on the fact that you have 50 friends. That's 50 more friends than you had the week before you start. Or it's potential that you're growing slowly and you're building those relationships. Concentrate more on the content that you want them to see and sharing your story with them and asking them to share that message too. If you do that, well, you're doing a good job with whatever size you have. I mean, we can't all be cherry water. They have employees that are just dedicated to doing this, and they do it well, they do it all the time, and so it's impossible to be that. Stay engaged. Like I said, respond. That's the biggest thing. Don't let conversations end or hang. Take the opportunity to reply, take the opportunity to favorite, to like, to ask questions. That's a big one that gets people involved. And that falls into photos, videos, and questions are the 3 most popular kinds of posts. So ask people what they want, what they want to see out of your account. Get them involved. Make it sort of a democracy in terms of what your social media account is going to be in some sense. Develop a game plan and present it to people and see if they like it. And I would encourage you to always use photos and videos. Those always have a lot more traction. Follow influencers. Follow organizations that you're impressed with. It doesn't have to be the ones that I listed here. If some of those fall into your wheelhouse, then do it. If not, there are plenty of other ones out there. Go to Forbes or to another news agency that may have good examples. Huffington Post will sometimes do it. They'll put like top whatever organizations to follow and start there. Or just make an account, kind of look around and sort of see, and then just kind of follow a rabbit hole, see where it leads you. Take some time to play with it. Follow one group and then see who they're following, and just kind of move it on from there. And then be yourself. That's the most important part. Don't be something you're not. If you're fun and you're spastic, be it. You take that opportunity to be creative with your posts. If your organization is serious and it has a serious tone, that's great. Be that too. But but you also have to understand that those kinds of tones may look one way on one site, but may not be as effective on another one. So I work with an organization where Twitter is their most popular site. In Facebook, they don't have a lot of traction because they have a much more serious tone. They want to be very professional. And so as a result, they don't have a lot of photos and videos to share because they're too busy trying to connect with people who are in the medical community. So this is just a list, if you want to go back, of sites or sources that I cited, or groups that I brought up, so you can go back and follow them or look into their information if you want, see who they follow. That's just something you can do in your own time, sort of. And then just kind of, stay connected. Don't forget to follow our accounts. We'll follow back. We're likely to follow back. It may be difficult to kind of tone to everybody at first, but we want everybody to sort of be. We want our accounts to sort of be the hub for this event, so that as we present information, it's a quick and easy way to get involved. You can retweet what we're putting out to your community, and you have content already at the ready for you. And then just start connecting. That's really it. Are there any questions? Well, I'm using the mic. I guess. Can we use the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind using the mic?
Yeah.
talking about us connecting up to some of the people with our local people in our Facebook accounts. Have you seen a lot of traffic coming in through the Big Give site? Have you seen a lot of people showing interest in what's going on with the community since this is the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. We and this is one reason why if you haven't liked the Big Give yet, I want you to go on and do it, because it's sort of a selfish thing. But I think the last time I checked, we're closing in. We have about 2,500 likes on Facebook, and we've already passed up a number of organizations that have done this for over 3 years. And everybody's engaged and responding. The community's been nothing but wonderful. And so we're actually wanting to pass up North Texas as the next closest one to us. And they're in their 5th year and just raised $25 million. So we're closing in on their number. And it would just be a great show of support for our community if we're able to pass them up this early on in the game.
I asked it because, and I'm just going to piggyback on this. Initially, we were going to do sort of a soft entrance into this, and our board of directors president actually saw something someplace else, and I'm not sure where he did, but at that point, we changed our whole game plan. We're shutting down our office. We're having a big party. We're doing a lot of marketing for it, so I just wasn't sure if there's...
Awesome, yeah, start. It's a great way to start. Start with I mean, you can sort of see what other organizations are up to. You can feel free to ask questions on our board as well, so we get an idea of what everybody else is up to. We'll respond. Other people are likely to respond. We've issued a couple of challenges on there about getting the number of friends to like the page, and that's been shared frequently and a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's great that you're doing that. We've been incredibly impressed with the number of organizations that are doing just that.
And like John said, at least for right now, if you're just starting out, if you follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook, John puts out material daily and weekly that you can just repost or retweet, and that helps you build some content as well. And it's all centered around the May 6th Give Day.
And a lot of what we're also posting on Twitter at this point, since we're waiting till closer to March to really kind of gear up with the information, it's just stuff on how to post. So other useful tips. We'll post a lot of times like 5 useful tips for Twitter or for whatever account. So it's just another way to go and find resources. Other questions?
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all very much. And just a couple of notes. Don't forget a week from today at the Whitley Theological Center, we will have the marketing and development class for the day of. And I encourage you to be at that particular event. We're not sure if we can get that recorded or not, but it is from someone who participated in the Austin Giving Day last year as a nonprofit, who has a lot of tips and a lot of strategy that she's going to share with the group, and I think that's pretty great. So, and then keep looking as we get through the next couple of weeks. You'll get emails on upcoming workshops and events. We have a board training next Tuesday night for board members only of your agencies that want to come and hear about the Big Give and hear a speaker talk about how they can get engaged. So all that will be coming out this week. And if you have any questions or comments about any of the materials, you can email the Big Give at Gmail, biggivesa@gmail.com. All right.